Igniting Voices. She is the co-coordinator. And welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you, and thank you for having me. Ty, I'd like to give you a shout out. Ty spoke at our Rotary meeting yesterday as our guest presenter, and it was so obvious that he has a passion for broadcast radio. He has a passion for this community, and thank you on my behalf, and I think many, many others in this community, for taking a leap of faith and taking this position as station manager, because I know you're going to grow it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to speak to the Rotary Club yesterday. I'm an old Rotarian myself, and it's always nice to be in front of that group, and you guys made me feel very welcome, and I hope that passion showed through yesterday at the talk. But thank you for having me, and welcome to here. I'm excited when you mentioned this endeavor. Tell us more about it.
All right. Caldwell, Igniting Voices, is a grassroots effort supported by our city and county leadership. This process defines a common vision. We're really looking at who are we and what can we be. In a sense, we're designing a roadmap for Princeton and Caldwell County together, united. And why is this important? How do you know where you're going if you don't know how to get there? We all, if we're traveling to unfamiliar territory, we have a GPS system, maps, Google, road maps, something to help us get there. Well, the city and county's roadmap are common priority goals that are truly developed by voices of this community. We're a small community, and our finances and resources are limited, and we can't afford to continue to try to focus and address on everyone's agendas.
Right.
But we need to come together with some common goals and visions that all government agencies, city, county, and civic groups can support together that truly will grow our community and move us forward. And it also doesn't make sense to have a community vision if you don't involve the community. And so we are intentionally, Igniting Voices is intentionally organizing and reaching out to involve as many voices within this community. This is our community's chance to be heard and their voice to be counted.
Fantastic. And this is something that I think, we've seen different versions of something like this in previous years. And there's some wonderful groups out there trying to make this community better. But what I'm hearing you say is you want to hear from anybody and everybody. This is going to be a forum for anyone, everybody. There are certain groups that are going to be working together and cooperating, but if you have an idea or thought to make our community a better place, this is going to be your forum to do that.
Yes, Igniting Voices is really focusing a vision around the questions that how do we create a community that retains our residents? How do we attract residents and visitors and tourists? And we want to become a place where children can retain. We can retain our children as well, and they can come back to a community after they've received their education. The fact is, the data, if it's through PAD, census, our population is declining. And so if we're not growing, we're dying. And that sounds so negative, but it is a true statement. So it's time for us to stop talking, and it's time to truly act. And this, again, is an intentional way for people not to just talk about our community and what we need and what we should be, but can truly be involved. And I say that with a caveat, though, because I know our government, city and county, I know agencies, I know individuals and boards and partners that are supporting this community on a volunteer basis constantly. They do a great job, and they talk about this issue all the time, and they're addressing it. But it's time now that the community really collectively and actively get involved to express what we can and be. When you ask others, sometimes out of that administrative forum, you always learn something new.
Sure.
Everyone has great ideas how to grow this community, and that's the whole point of Igniting Voices.
That's what I was going to, I was just thinking as you're sitting there talking, there's that great idea out there somewhere that might not have has been expressed yet.
Mhm.
There's that, and it could be out there somewhere. And this is going to possibly allow that idea to come to the forefront.
Yes, and that's what makes this vision process different. Unlike any that we've seen in our community, we have had visions, not always united city and county together.
Might be an organization here, an organization there, bringing them.
Yes,
This,
for sure, and that's what the Igniting Voices wants to do, is to intentionally, again, recognize groups that already exist in Caldwell County. We don't need to recreate a wheel. We have many groups that exist through our civic organizations, our social
Sure.
organizations, clubs, book clubs, homemakers. I'm
and they
sure
are
you could name a list.
And they are working very hard to make this community a better place. But this is just a different approach, I think, and something that might bring a more coordinated sort of thought to how this gets done.
Coordinated, intentional, organized. Matter of fact, we're asking these groups to not only participate in the group, but just to host a discussion group. And the discussion group will be led by facilitators.
Mm-hmm.
And the facilitators are local residents. We're already getting a great deal of interest of individuals who want to facilitate. And they will be trained by University of Kentucky. We're working with University of Kentucky's Community Economic Development Issue for Kentucky. That's a mouthful. But with Dr. Lori Garkovich, she will train the facilitators, and we begin that process October the 3rd at the Tourist Center, and we have 2 sessions, so we have access for individuals' work schedules. There will be a session from 11:30 to 12:30, and another session the same day, October 3rd, I think that's a Tuesday, from 5:30 to 6:30. And anyone can be a facilitator, anyone that's interested in being a facilitator. But again, they will be the individuals that lead the discussion in a consistent manner using 4 questions that really, for the group who participates to respond. Those questions are, it's based on what do we cherish about our community? What do we want to preserve for future generations? We're looking at change, because again, if you're not changing, you're not growing.
Right.
If we could change one thing right now to make Caldwell County a better place to live and work or raise a family, what would it be? We're looking at a vision. Imagine Caldwell County as you would like to be in 10 years, down the road. What would be different than it is now? And then action. Is this your vision for the future of Caldwell County? And what do we need to do to start? So it is a process. And once we gather all the input over a period of a couple of months, then this information is collected and analyzed and sent to the University of Kentucky, and they will develop a report that returns to the community to really define some priority goals.
So this is a process, obviously. It's interesting that you think 4 questions, only 4 questions, but really those 4 questions tend to cover a lot of things and a lot of areas. We do have a rich heritage here, and how do we maintain that heritage? How do we recognize that heritage? And then, of course, the change. Yes, people are scared of that, and it sometimes seems like small towns are scared of that. They just want to go, and it's always been this way, and then the vision. That's where really it's exciting, because no telling who is out there with just some little vision that they have that might really launch something big. And then, of course, action. You got to take action to get it implemented. So really touches on everything, and having the University of Kentucky aspect to it too. This research and stuff that's going to be implemented for this training. It's just good stuff.
Another piece that is so important, especially for the grassroots group here, is that we obviously want the passion and the motion from our community of what they think we need in order for this community to improve and grow, or continue to improve and grow, because I think we're always improving upon our community. But then University of Kentucky can take the collection of data. And really sort of cross-reference the data with what we think. Is it a perception of what we need, or is it a reality? Because sometimes we may have the perception that there is a particular need when the data shows otherwise.
There's not. And I think, when there's stuff in front of us here every day that we just sort of take for granted, but somebody from the outside just sees it with totally different eyes. And I think that's one thing we're blinded by, just the everyday aspect of our little community sometimes when you step away, or if you go away and you come back and go, oh, it's like it's new and it's fresh. So lots of things, lots of excitement, I would think, around this. Let's take a little break and collect our thoughts and come back. There's a couple other things reading down here on some of the information that you provided that we can talk about. But we'll take a short break, and we'll come back and talk with JANIE TOMEK more about Caldwell Igniting Voices here on your hometown radio station, WPKY The Tiger. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade goodness. Hancock's makes their own fresh chicken salad, pimento cheese, salads, and a variety of mouth-watering desserts, sure to please your entire family. While at Hancock's, be sure to visit their meat department for the best selection of USDA choice meats in the area. Hancock's Neighborhood Market in Cadiz, hometown, homemade goodness, and the Hancock name you know and trust for quality for your family. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz.
Since 1978, Perry's Floors and More has been selling, installing, and servicing homeowners throughout Western Kentucky with quality flooring and workmanship. Perry's Floors and More carries luxury vinyl plank and luxury vinyl tile, carpet, window treatments, and more. Quality brands like Mannington, Shaw, Tarkett, Beaulieu, and Flexitech. There is a reason why we say you can walk on our reputation. Come see Bill and Lucy at 127 West Market Street or call 270-365-9869.
All right, and we are back here on Tiger Talk at 8:42 with JANIE TOMEK, and she is here. We're talking about Caldwell Igniting Voices, and this is kind of a kickoff we were talking about for this. It's a group of people, and it started with a grassroots really kind of movement to get this done. Let's go back and maybe talk about how this came about.
It truly was a grassroots movement, and it stemmed from conversation with different community members who I think were surprised, like I was, that we were declining in population. And with so many years, I think we felt very comfortable in our area with surrounding Trigg, Line, and Marion that we were outgrowing those communities. But that is not the case now. So again, with that concern and a passion that we all love this community, we want to see it grow. We want to see our children return or have opportunities to be able to return to our community. And we want to attract new residents, new businesses. But this is a new world, new culture. And we do know sometimes it's attracting residents because they will choose to live in one area and work in another area. Yeah. So that's how it began. And so we just sort of began meeting and discussing what can we do to support our government officials, elected officials, in order to help this community grow. And if we're going to help, we felt like we had to know more about where we are. What are our resources? What are our needs? What are our strengths? And that led from one thing to another that we worked with UK with a First Impressions program.
I remember that.
They sent a team to our community just to look through someone else's eyes, because we noticed in our conversations with our, matter of fact, I didn't even recognize the grassroots team. It was a community-based team made up of diverse individuals in the community that, again, just have a passion and care for this community. Through the First Impressions, we needed some outside eyes because sometimes we don't see our own strengths.
We're just talking about.
And we're very quick to see our needs, but we sometimes don't see our strengths. So through that program, they recognized, again, conversations the community-based team were having, that is there a vision? When I ask each individual, what is our vision? No one knew. And it doesn't mean we don't have some on paper, but it hasn't become sort of a community-wide, or it's not known or publicized. And that's what the first impression group saw. They came back and said, we can't get a feel of who Princeton Caldwell is. There's lots of great things going on, and it is a charming town, a place for people to visit. But who are you?
Right. It's yeah, and I saw, I guess, the final report of some of those things, and it's fascinating to see some of those things, because you go, wow, yeah, that's exactly right. And I can't really think of anything specific off the top of my head, but it's amazing, and I think it's always helpful when we have those eyes that are not here all the time to come in and look. And I think that was such a great report, because then you can step back and go, that's right. It's kind of like getting in a car and not having a destination. I mean, the old saying about the ship with the rudder. You've got to have a vision of where you're going, and I think that's exactly what you're working on here.
And that's what the first impression report's first priority is to develop a vision, a common vision. And if it wasn't for that report, again, if it wasn't for wonderful people who support this community, such as all three of our banks, Planters Bank, Farmers Bank, First Southern, and the Economic Partnership, who helped finance the first impression, that has led us to this next step, which was on that priority list, was create a common vision. Again, thanks to our mayor, Danny Beavers, and Judge Executive Ellen Dunning. They have attended these meetings and are fully supporting this process as we move forward to connect the community and ignite their voice.
Exciting stuff. So those folks that may not have heard the whole program here or just tuning in, how do they get involved? If they're listening to this and they're going, man, this sounds like something I want to get involved with.
We hope you are getting excited, just as the organization group or planning group has become very passionate about moving forward. You can get involved by, obviously, help spread the word. When you see Igniting Voices, that you have some sense of what that is and what that's including. Attend the focus groups that Igniting Voices will be scheduling, and we will be informing the public again through our media sources. But we're really looking to schedule those discussion groups in areas where people gather all throughout the corners of Caldwell County,
right.
Not just in Princeton. This is a Caldwell County Princeton initiative. And just be counted by attending the group, responding to the questions, providing your input. Your voice becomes valued. So ignite your voice, because we are coming to a venue near you.
Awesome. Well, it's exciting to hear, and it's so, it's simple, but yet it's going to be so beneficial, I think, as we hear the many voices come together, and we want your voice ignited in this process. So the first session coming up is, of course, going to be at the Tourism Center. You mentioned October the 3rd, correct?
And that is a facilitator's training only.
Okay, that is.
But
okay.
Again, that's another way that anyone in this community that's interested can be involved. Please come. It's a 1-hour session, and you will be trained on the process to facilitate a discussion group.
So that could be anybody that feels like
interested.
They have something to give or is interested in doing this process.
Yes.
That is great. Any certain numbers they can call if they're hearing this and want to say, hey, what can I do?
Yes, they can contact me,
Okay.
JANIE TOMEK at bellsouth.net. And can I leave that information
you
with
can leave it with me, and I will. Yeah, you can leave
or,
it with me. Yeah.
They are Paulette Gray, the
yeah,
same thing. I know I'm going to be out of pocket for a couple
you're
of
gonna
weeks.
be out of town,
I'm
yes.
traveling abroad, and but you can still email, and I will receive that and get that to the appropriate person. So we'll leave that information with you.
And be listening, folks, throughout as this process continues, because we'll be putting information on our community boards and on our What's Happening as to how you might be involved with Caldwell Igniting Voices, because it's going to be exciting times, and no telling what's out there that somebody can bring to this aspect of what your vision and what you're trying to do. So fantastic.
Thanks, Ty. And that's what we're counting on. We're counting on this community to act.
Good deal. Well, it's been my pleasure to have you this morning, Janie, and thank you so much. Thank you for your work and your efforts. This is, I know it's been a passion for you. I've seen you since you've been away from your school system duties. You've just sort of picked up in another spot, and we need people out there that decide to not work anymore, but to work doing other things and to make our community better. So thank you for what you do.
You're more than welcome. I worked away from our community for almost 24 years, and so it's my time to give back. But this is not just my passion.
I understand
this
that.
is a group
Yes.
who have really driven this process, and many thanks to them, the
Many thanks to this whole
community-based
group.
team, and to now this new organizing team.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's Caldwell Igniting Voices. We'll have information we'll give out if you want to be involved. And don't forget that the facilitator session's coming up on October 3rd. There'll be 2 sessions. That's at the Tourism Center, 11:30 to 12:30 and 5:30 to 6:30. So really only just an hour each session, and that will give you the ability to facilitate some of these trainings out there. So get involved. It's Caldwell Igniting Voices. We'll give you information on how to get in touch with those folks. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have JANIE TOMEK in our studios here today. WPKY for Tiger Talk, the second half. Thanks.